Well, after a month of waiting, and I can't blame Bad Dawg Accessories for that, COVID-19 was making it hard to get plastics, so production of the windshields just weren't happening. But this is the GC1K folding windshield. Mine happens to be a 2018 model, but it fits many more. As an engineer putting this windshield together, I don't foresee that being a problem. My trouble is going to be editing this video. It's not something I do or necessarily enjoy, so if you're seeing this, that means both projects were a success. Let's get to it. Alright, well, I got everything out of the box, and everything appears to be here. All the parts are here. There's no spares, but it's a pretty simple install, so I don't foresee that being a problem. We just have some roll cage attachments, some brackets, the simple bolts that go in there, some weather stripping. I did a cursory examination of the plastic. I don't see any cracks or scuff marks or anything of concern at this point. When we pull the protective covering off at the end, we'll see for sure, but I don't foresee there being any problems. Alright, let's start putting stuff together. So step one, we're supposed to locate the pre-drilled holes on the bottom portion of the folding windshield. Okay, found those. More on the other side. Then we're supposed to put the plastic clamps on the bottom portion of the tubes and the general areas they're going to be. And then we can put the bolts through, line them up with the plastic. One thing it doesn't mention, if you notice this picture, it actually shows 3 clamps down there. The GC1Ks only have 2. They don't have that little wing that hangs down. I'm guessing that's for an 800 series or another model anyway. And it also doesn't mention these plates, which I looked up on their website. If you look at the picture and zoom in, you can see that these guys actually mount there. So the bolts will go through that and then into the clamps. So let's go get that installed. So I found another step that Bad Dawg missed on their instructions. If you're listening, it might be time to update the instructions. But you got to put the weather stripping on before we can mount this to the machine. And it's going to take you a while because it's a tight fit, which is good. This thing ain't going to come off. But these corners are really tight, so take your time. Make sure you've got it all the way seated. And when you get to the end, what I used is probably a better tool, but I just used some wire cutters because there's little metal pieces in there. Use the wire cutters to cut the channel, and then I used a pocket knife for a more precision cut of the rubber on the end. So now, let's go try to put this on the front. Okay, got the pieces together. The whole windshield is loosely in place. You can see the metal plate is in there. It was a little fiddly trying to get the bolts to thread into the back, but with a little bit of effort, you get it done. You will need a 5/32 Allen. I would recommend getting a screwdriver type. Using what I used was a lot more complicated than it needed to be. So now that it's in place, the next step will be to pull these down, try and get this to seat as well to the bottom as you can. It won't be perfect, but that's to be expected. Pull them down, tighten those up, and then the bottom half will be done. And then I can work on getting the top installed. So far so good. So far I've spent maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, and part of that's because I'm trying to make a video at the same time. And I've never done this before, so like I said, so far so good. Alright, so we got it installed, pulled down, bolts tightened, not too tight, but minimal air gaps, so I think we'll be good. It's never going to be perfect. So let's go see where we're at. So number 1 is done, pulling it down and tightening. Number 2 is done. Number 3, it just says secure the top of the windshield with the little rubber clamps. That's these here. Number 4 is to locate the holes on the visor. So 4 holes across the visor. Check. Now we just have to go and put the 4 clamps across the top on the roll cage and mount this in place. Alright, one little quick thing worth note is if you already have a roof installed like I do, this is the aluminum one. I'm sure the plastic one has a similar issue. You can't actually fit this inside because of the lip on the bottom. These 2 lips will conflict with each other, so you have to fold the windshield down, put the visor in place, then fold the windshield back up. Alright, well the visor's installed. I had to take the plastic wrap off just because there were so many bolts and bits to worry about. But what I did was put it up in there, folded this into place. I gave it about a 1/16 of an inch so that these two lips here wouldn't conflict, and then folded it down and tightened down the bolts, making sure it was even side to side. Alright, so that takes care of number 5. So number 6, it's saying that after we've got the visor installed and in place and everything's the way we want it, everything's tightened down, they want us to put these little guys, there's 2 of them, they're holding blocks, put them on the windshield, and then we'll fold it down to see where they line up. So there's the little holding block, just loosely pushed on. It's not like on super tight. So then when you fold it down, it makes contact with the metal plate. So make sure that it sits right. You can wiggle it side to side, make sure it lines up good. Once it's lined up the way you want, you just fold it back up. There's an adhesive backer. Just pull the little plastic protection off. Make sure this surface is clean. It's probably a little dirty from install, so wipe it down. Then just lower the screen back down, make connection, and then it'll stay there and hold your windshield in place. Alright, so got everything in place. The little attachment points are on both sides. Visor's installed. You just have to pull this around to get that to close. All good to go. So there's only one thing left to do. Alright, here comes the first one. Alright, here comes number 2. And here goes number 3. And the final one. And that's that. Okay. From the driver's seat, all looks good. Plastic fits. All is good. That's not a crack. That's a fold. So it's all good. Alright, it may look the same. Sorry about the wind. But the windshield is down. So there's it folded, tucked into place. Looks good. Gonna go for a ride. Okay, went for a quick ride around the neighborhood. Looked good, worked good. I will say that some people were not complaining, but just making note that when you run around with the windshield up, it does tend to suck more in through the back. And I will say, after hauling some rocks the other day, there was some dust coming up through the back. But definitely shields you from the wind when you're going forward. So I could see this on a colder day, keeping your hands from going numb, and just in general keeping some of the dust off when you're on a trail. And with the windshield down, I got good airflow, and that's probably how I'll ride most of the time, just because better visibility in general. It's not hard to see through it, but once you get some mud on it, that could be a problem. If you have any questions, let me know, and I definitely recommend getting one if you can. And there's just a quick look with the windshield fully up. Thanks for watching.